Welcome to another episode of Empower Apps. I'm your host, Leo Dion. Today, I'm joined by Cihat Gündüz. Cihat, thank you so much for taking the time to joining me today.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Before we begin, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, so I'm Jihad, as you said, and I do iOS development since 2011. So that's been like 13 years already. And I'm an
Wow.
indie developer, full-time indie developer since 2 years. And I developed like and published 7 apps in the last 6 months. That's currently my thing. I used to work for an app agency as the iOS team lead, and after that, I worked for like a product company for 2 years and built like an Android and iOS team as more like a manager there, but also doing technical stuff. Yeah,
Awesome. So I've followed your material for the last year. You had a really great article about Swift 6 migration and
right.
testing that stuff out. And then I got to meet you in person in California. This is my first post WWDC recording, so that's exciting. And I got to see you at one more thing. But was this your first time at WWDC?
I was at WWDC actually when Swift was announced in 2014 as a student
Wow.
scholarship winner. So that
Oh,
was
that's
like
awesome.
really, that was exciting times. And now I'm back. I was back this year for 10 years of Swift, which was amazing. Like a good
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
combination.
We're doing our next episode will hopefully be with Desmond Blair, who was a student scholarship, not a student challenge winner. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll be talking to him about that experience as well. So, yeah, what was, I guess, how has the vibe changed, both like as somebody who's now more mature, I guess, and
Yeah.
older, but also just the way WWDC is run drastically different than it was 10 years ago.
Actually, I was in in San Francisco back then in Moscone West Center, and I was there in 2015 again without a ticket because I thought like there was the AltConf, which is like an alternative conference,
Hmm.
and I actually thought like it was not like the 2014 experience was amazing. I learned so much. I met so many people and stuff like that. Like 5,000 people inside Moscone West Center, and all of them are developers. And also Swift was announced, so it was really exciting. Everyone was
Hmm.
sitting
Hmm.
there and downloading stuff and trying things out. And the next year, when I was there for AltConf, I was a bit disappointed because most people were still inside Moscone West, and it was hard to like really have the same feeling again. Which is different now because Apple is not doing the full week thing anymore. So they just have things for one day, and then people go to the community stuff, to the community events and stuff like that. So I got to meet all the people who also had a ticket, which was amazing. So I think it's like in that department, it has I think a different vibe now, even if you don't have a ticket. Like if you have a ticket, also it's not such a big advantage anymore. Back then
Right,
it was a huge difference.
right, right. Just as a first timer, like I had an amazing time. Like I'm totally
You were
wanting
there
to
for the
do it
first time,
again.
or well, you had a ticket?
No, I did not have a ticket. No.
All right.
But like you said, it isn't as big of a deal as it would have been a few years ago before COVID, right?
Right.
And just being able to go to so many different events. I was like hopping around everywhere, going to every little event I could, and it was amazing. I talked about it in the newsletter. I'll link to it, but basically, yeah, there's just so much going on. It's hard to like it's hard to have any quiet time, honestly.
True, yeah.
And I was jam packed with stuff and social events and things like that. So yeah, I had a fantastic time.
Yeah, me too. I met so many people that I followed also on Twitter, Mastodon, etc. And yeah, like you included, I like people I really admire. I really like. I follow their stuff. I listen to their podcasts too. I read their articles, and now I have a face, and I have
Yeah,
like some feeling of knowing who that actually is. That's
yeah,
really
yeah.
makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference. Was there any highlights you had from your experience there, and one more thing or any of that stuff that
You
really
mean like
stuck
the
out?
events and stuff? That's a good question. I think like the people are the highlights, right? Like all
Yeah.
the people you meet and the friends you make. I also learned, I didn't know that before. I had a feeling that, like, I'm based in Germany, and I had a feeling that there are not that many iOS developers here, but I'm totally wrong. When I was there, like, so many people were from Germany. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
something I learned and make connections there. And yeah, the people, that's what it's all about, I think, if you go there, because the sessions they're online, so you could watch them online. And yeah,
Yeah, that was one thing is like I watched very few sessions while I was actually there,
I didn't
which
watch any. I didn't watch any.
yeah, because
I'm
it's
the
like I could do it anytime. It's not like okay, that thing that's going to be around forever.
right
It's meeting the actual people there and stuff.
too.
That's the
Yeah, I
highlight
visited
for
the
me.
like maybe the highlight in terms of events was the James Dempsey concert, which
Oh,
was
nice.
yeah, I was there for the first time. I didn't even know James Dempsey really. Like I heard the name a few times, but I didn't know
Yeah,
who he was. And it was a great concert, and the songs are amazing. Like he started with a song called Hello World, and then he
yeah,
ended after we asked for one more song. He ended with one more thing. So that was
yeah,
like the perfect circle there.
yeah. That I did not get to go to that. I had to get up early the next day, but they had the some of the folks from Apple put together a community event. And I got to go to that and meet some of the folks on the
Cool.
actual Swift core team, which was really cool. I enjoyed that. And the whole One More Thing conference, I'm super glad that was organized and happened.
Too.
That was really great. And it was like a good central meeting place for a lot of stuff.
For
So
sure,
I'm
yeah.
really glad I got to attend it and participate in it as well. So yeah,
Yeah, it was great. Like the panel you had with the three awesome speakers. That was also great. Like I think that's also one of the highlights from the One More Thing Conf itself
thank you.
for me.
Well, it helps to be a podcast interviewer, I guess. So I had all the questions already from doing a recording, so it worked out really well. Yeah, and hopefully we'll have that video up in the next couple months or so. So definitely look out for that. So we talked about all the things that you enjoyed. So maybe now we're going to get into disappointments. Um, you put together a wish list a few weeks ago about things you wanted, and there's some really interesting thoughts that you had.
Mhm.
And I want to kind of just let's touch base and see like where those things are now, and or or what things we gained that maybe are a little bit closer to that. And I want to start off. We'll just go over the list. I'll put a link
Sure.
in the show notes for people to look at. But I really thought this was interesting, and I don't know if you were the only one to say it. But a WeatherKit like API for Apple Sports. That
Right.
that would be really cool. Um,
Yeah, I
do
think so
you
too.
think? So we didn't get that, right? Did we?
No, we didn't.
Okay, we didn't. Okay, I just want to make sure. But like, they'd almost need to buy like a company to do that, right? Like,
Maybe, yeah.
I feel like that would have to be the thing is like they would buy a sports API company, and then in 2 years we'd magically hear about some like new API called SportsKit, right? Like, isn't that how it usually works, right?
Yeah,
With Build
yeah, I think
Buddy
so.
or Workflow or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I'm just not aware of all the companies they have already bought. So maybe they had already bought something in that regard because they are so
I don't remember
invested.
hearing anything about sports.
No, no,
Um,
they didn't mention anything, but they are so invested
right.
into sports, and especially now that I have the Vision Pro, and I've tried like different experiences there. I'm
Mm.
really, really convinced that the thing that's going to sell the Vision Pro most to like the average consumer is live sports,
Or
and
live events,
or
right?
live
Like
events in general.
concerts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but in general, like, yeah, things where you have a lot of fans, and those fans are also willing to pay a lot of money to experience, get the best experience possible. I think for concerts, you want to be there live. Like, you can't make it better than the concert itself. I think because that's all about the music experience as well. But for live sports, I have a different take on that because the thing is with the Vision Pro, you can have like 20 cameras spread across. For example, I'm thinking about soccer right now. You have like 20 cameras on the pitch, all cameras on different places. And firstly, you can't sit any as close as the cameras can be. And when you are in the stadium, you can't switch the cameras either. So it's for sure the better experience to be able to switch cameras and be much closer. And yeah, I'm really convinced about that. So I think it would make a lot of sense for Apple to like create this third party sports API based thing as well. That's why I hoped for this new API, but we didn't get
Did
one.
they improve their immersive video when it comes to sports? Because I heard not very good things about that soccer video
You
that
didn't
they
hear
came
good
out
things
with.
about it? I love it. I watched it
Yeah.
10 times or something like that.
Oh, really? I heard
Yeah,
people were just like, "Oh, they cut too fast. It was cut for 2D and not for immersive video." But you really enjoyed it.
I loved it. Like I have showed it, like my Vision Pro, I showed it to 25 people or so because we don't have the Vision Pros here. So people are really
Yeah.
interested in trying it out. And everyone was really amazed, even ex-soccer players, they were really amazed by the immersion but yeah, they believe that the future of watching sports is going to be in like 3D like this.
Yeah.
Maybe that it was not cut perfectly, but in general, the people they loved it.
Loved it. Okay, number 2. Add zoom modifier to scroll view in Swift UI. Did we get that? I
I'm
thought we
not sure.
did.
I think we did because we have now a new modifier. It's called on-scroll geometry change. And
Okay.
we do get like the inset and stuff like that. And I think what we can do now is somehow use that information that we have now, specifically on scroll views, to create like a scale effect on the content that we have in there. I haven't tried it yet, but I think you can now technically build a zoom-like modifier, but we didn't get the modifier directly. So we don't have anything that's really easy to use, which I was really hoping for, because
Okay.
scroll views should be zoomable. Like I have this crossword puzzle game where you
Okay.
have a crossword puzzle at the end, and I just use a scroll view for that, and I have like the contents there. And all the people ask me like, why can't I zoom in? Because I want to zoom in and also zoom out to see like more
Like
of
with
the
a
crossword.
pinch and stuff, right?
Right, exactly. That's exactly what
Yeah.
they want. And I just couldn't create it because there are like workarounds based on, I don't know, a geometry reader and stuff like that. For like images, for example, you can zoom in them into them,
Okay.
but with a scroll view, it doesn't really work because it breaks the
Do you think we
idea
just
of a
need
scroll.
another view for that? Like in UI Kit, would you still use a scroll view for that?
You mean like a zoom view or something like that?
It's like almost seems like a map. Like that's what I'm hearing when you talk about
Maybe.
like zooming and stuff. That sounds like a map to me. Like,
Maybe I
yeah,
don't
I
know.
don't know.
Maybe we need a new view. But I'm just looking for an easy
How
way
how
to
would you
have
do it
some
in a UI
scroll.
Kit?
I would have a scroll view, and then I think you can just
Okay.
uh, change basically, did you change the offset and stuff? And I think you can also zoom. I think there
Okay.
is zoom offset or something like that. I don't remember. It's been a few years since I last used UIKit,
Right,
but I
right.
know it's possible.
Um, okay, so fix Swift data limitations on CloudKit. I don't. Did they fix that? I don't think they did. Did
No,
they?
no.
Yeah,
They
they
added
really
they
were not a lot of Swift data
yeah
changes other than the history API. I was
they
really
focused
surprised by
on
that.
they focused on performance in software. They added like index stuff, but they didn't do anything else.
Okay. Okay, this is really cool, and I want to talk about this quite a bit because I think we have like the same app idea here.
Okay.
They did they add anything for what you have is persistent windows and volumes in Vision OS.
Right.
Did they add anything?
They did add a new option in the settings app that you
Okay.
can basically, and this is also opt out, so it's by default it's turned on. What happens is that you have the switch, which makes sure that when you restart your Vision Pro, that the apps you had last open that they reopen and the window positions also stay basically where they were.
Okay.
I tested this in the beta one, and the first time I tested it didn't work, but now I'm testing it more and it kind of works. But it's not what I was wishing for. What I was wishing for is that either the user or we as the developers can say for specific windows that those should be fixed, even if the user decides to long press the digital crown, which recenters everything, which is still not working. So if even with the new option that you have, it still recenters all the windows, and then yeah, you lose the real augmented reality feature.
So you have like an app. You have an app or an app idea for this
I have
because
an
you have
app.
like that. Okay, what's it
I
called?
It's called Posters. It's basically
Okay.
dynamic movie posters which update every 15 minutes. You just open them, you just place them on your walls or wherever you like them to be. And then the idea is that they stay open all the time. And when you walk by, you see like new posters. And then when you're interested, you just click it, watch the trailer or where it's currently running, stuff like that.
Okay. Because I have a similar idea where I can
Okay,
do
let's hear it.
photos on the wall.
Like
So
frames on the wall.
yeah, just little
Yeah,
like photos from your photo library. Like you just
true.
post them
That was my
on
first
your
idea,
wall.
actually. That was my
What's
first.
that?
I wanted to build like 3D frames that look amazing, and then you could just put your photos in there. But then,
Right, right.
yeah, I
Um,
found the frame design was too complex for me, and the posters thing was easier to make as a first step.
okay. Um, yeah, how easy is it to do something where it's like mounted on a wall? Is that pretty easy or?
Well, there's no API. Like the interesting thing about Vision OS is you have these two modes. One is the shared space mode where you can have multiple apps open, and the other one is the
Mhm.
full space mode where only your app is open. And if you're in the full space mode, you can use ARKit, and inside ARKit you get things like planes and walls. So you could do the placement on walls if you are in a full space. But all my app ideas are more like augmenting the reality, so you can continue using the Vision Pro with other apps, with other experiences, while those things just augmented your reality, like adding posters, frames, and stuff like that, which needs to work in a shared space. And we don't have an API to pin anything to the walls. It doesn't work. And also, what I would expect is that Vision OS does this automatically. Like if a user places a window very very close to a wall, it should like magnetically snap somehow. That's how I would expect it to work.
So how does posters do it?
It doesn't do it. Like as a user, you have to walk and you just have to place it right, and then that's how it
Oh,
currently works. It's
oh,
not perfect.
yeah. I mean, it's probably a privacy thing more than it is a technical thing, I would assume. But still,
With a
like, why can't they?
with a
Why can't
magnetical
they?
attachment, I don't think so.
Or just
Because
like,
the thing
yeah,
about the shared space is you don't get positions of your windows at all. You don't know where your window is. Or the only thing you
right.
know is the size of your window. So if they added like a magnetically attaching window thing, it would not, like the developer would not get any information.
So
So
like with ARKit, you could do it with ARKit, but then they can't run any other app while they're doing it, right?
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
How
That's how it
easy is it to
works.
do it with ARKit?
Like if you are somewhat if you've used ARKit on iOS, basically it works pretty similar. So it's
Okay.
relatively simple. But there's always like with ARKit and all those 3D things, there's some mathematical calculation involved, which is doable, but it's not that. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. Um, we can just do this one quickly. Modal text input on tvOS.
Yeah,
Are, I'm just surprised they'd ever do that, honestly.
I
Um,
just like the same app again. I have this crossword puzzle game, and I didn't bring it to tvOS for the only reason that when you want to type in some like characters into the crossword puzzle, you get a full screen typing thing, and this doesn't work
hmm.
for a crossword puzzle game.
Yeah, I mean,
So
because most of the
yeah,
time, yeah. I mean, could you kick it off to an iPhone like you can with like the Apple Watch, where you'd be like, oh, you want to do this
I
text
could, I
input, you can
guess,
do it on your phone or
I
no?
guess with my own app, but yeah, that's not perfect. Like I want to do it with like the Siri remote.
Yeah, no, I get it. Make string catalog editor more useful. Why do you want this? This would like ruin your app. Don't get Sherlocked. What are you doing?
Well, the feature that I have in my app is okay. I wrote this before I had this feature in my app. Let's put it that way. And
Okay,
then I basically Russ Shanahan, who's the developer of Happy Scale,
okay.
basically paid me to implement this feature in my app, and then I made it freely available to everyone. That's
Okay.
basically
We'll
why
talk
I
about
have a
Translate
string.
Kit later. I don't want to
Oh,
give too
sure.
much
Okay.
away, but okay.
Okay.
We did not get Create LLM app, did we?
No, we didn't. We didn't
No.
even get any APIs for like the only thing we got was you could create these images and you can place this image creation UI into your app, but you can't use the API
When you
directly.
say we got it, I mean we still don't have
We're
it.
gonna
Like
yeah, we don't have it yet. It's
we
gonna
don't have
like
any of the Apple Intelligence stuff. So
they
like
announced
I'm
we're gonna get
assuming
it.
Yeah, and I also kind of feel like they're, if you ask them, like, why don't we have a create LLM thing? They'd be like, well, you're supposed to use these adapters and all the stuff they talked
Mm.
about, which we don't have now, but like I would assume that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
maybe,
I
maybe
don't
it's
want to
too
talk about
early
Apple
days.
Intelligence because I haven't played around with it and I don't even know what it's going to really be like. So,
Okay.
improved source control. I don't think we got that, did we? Source control
I haven't
UX and
checked. I haven't checked.
okay.
When they improve source control, they usually don't mention. They just improve it, and it's just there. And I haven't tested yet.
Make Swift UI previews work reliably. I feel like
Oh
they
yeah.
at least tried, right?
Okay. Yeah, they tried. They said one thing, which is that they're not building extra for the SwiftUI previews anymore. So they're basically using the build that is already done of your app for the simulator for the SwiftUI previews as well. That's what I said. I haven't
Okay,
tested if it works more reliably, but like this should help in that direction because my simulator always works. Like when I built my app, run it in a
right,
simulator, it always works. And
right.
if they somehow do something there also, this is at least it's the right direction. I don't know if it's really improved though.
And I
We'll
know they
see.
added a bunch of like new macros so that like things that you need to
True.
plug in, like Swift data and a few other pieces, like it's much more easier to have like test data, I guess, in your preview, right?
Yeah. I
So,
think it's like the add previewable macro, which like you don't have to create an extra struct if you have just some state you want to
yep.
change in your preview, which is awesome.
Screenshots. Explain what you meant by this. Screenshots for Swift UI previews. What do you mean?
So my goal is basically to make it as simple as possible to create localized app screenshots for the App Store. And the thing is that I used to use UI tests for creating localized screenshots, but UI tests are first they are slow. Second, they're not really reliable. Like they just fail sometimes and they don't produce
Right.
the same result. And what I already have though is I have all my views, and I have for my important views I have great previews already, and also can configure them because I want to see them in the different states that they can be in, so I can actually basically improve the design with a quick feedback. And so I already have everything there. All I need is just a button to make a screenshot of the
Mhm.
current preview I'm seeing. And the second thing that actually SwiftUI Previews had at the start is changing the locale of the preview you're seeing right now.
Right.
And the
Right.
API is still documented. It's all online on Apple developer documentation that it still works. There is like this I think you set some locale or something, but it just doesn't do anything right now. So it's broken. And with those two things, like changing the locale and having a button to just create a screenshot, I could create localized app screenshots very easily.
Okay. Makes total sense.
And if
So
if
we
it
didn't
had an
get any
API
improvements
in,
there.
no, not that I know
Okay.
of.
Overall, as far as announcements are concerned, do you have any thoughts? Uh, last
Well,
closing thoughts on your wish list?
I'm a bit surprised that we didn't get any new framework that surprised us because the last few years we always got something like be it Swift Data, being WeatherKit, being
Kind of got a
Swift
framework, but
Charts. Which one?
yeah. Well, I would assume Apple Intelligence is a new framework. Like
But
that's
it
kind of the
doesn't have a
elephant in the
framework.
room of
It doesn't
frameworks.
have a framework though. Maybe yeah, next year I guess we'll get a framework for that. I hope at
Yeah.
least. We'll see. But yeah, otherwise I think they focus on more smaller improvements, and I really like most of the small improvements. So
Yeah.
overall
Agreed.
I'm happy with the API changes.
Yep. So one of the sites that you run is WWDC Notes. You want to explain what this site is, and you it went through a redesign of sorts. Yeah, I'll let you go ahead and talk about that for a bit.
Okay, so basically, if you have ever watched WWDC sessions, you know that they can be sometimes, firstly, like videos as a format are already something where you can't really search easily. I know they have transcripts now,
Right.
but still, if you want to just know if they talked about something, the transcript usually it doesn't really give a good idea. You can't really skim it quickly. It's really a long text there. And the other thing is that you might not want to watch all those sessions because you don't have the time. Like I just watched a session today, which is 43 minutes long or 42 minutes. And it was like, I didn't have to invest all the time to just maybe find an answer for a small thing that I was trying
Right.
to find. And WWDC Notes is basically a community-driven website where people who do watch some sessions, they can just share their notes for the sessions that they wrote down. and it is based on Doc.C now. It was used to like using a custom Markdown format. I think it was based on John Sandel's library. But I decided when I took it over last year, because Federico used to do this website, like he created it, but he's now working for Apple, which means that he can't work on anything anymore that is outside of Apple. Yeah. And so he searched for someone who could take it over, and I was the guy who had provided most sessions besides him. Like he provided over 300 notes. That's really amazing. And yeah, I had like 40 or something. So he asked me if I could take over, and I did. And I felt like I wanted to bring it all together in one repository, because there were a couple of private repositories for the website, for the Twitter bot and stuff like that. And I decided I just do it in one repo, and I would migrate it over to Swift Doc.C, which is a documentation compiler that officially looks like Apple documentation, which I also thought maybe makes sense as a UI. And yeah, that migration just finished 2 days ago. I migrated the older sessions as well, like all the notes from the old website. And now if you visit WWDCNotes.com, you can see the new design and all the notes. There are already around 40 notes for this year's session. So the community was really amazing to provide them really quickly.
So what was it like transitioning to Doc.C from a custom... basically a custom website?
Okay, so there are a couple of aspects to this. Firstly, I had to migrate the existing notes because I didn't want to lose any of the existing ones, which was surprisingly easy, because the Doc.C format is also based on Markdown. Like all the articles there are Markdown. And I just copy and pasted basically the Markdown. The only thing I had to change was the links to the images. Because the old website, it had like links to images, and they were like in a folder named the same way the article was named, which was also easy to automate this because everything was very similar. But like the format was a little bit different, and I just wrote a script, did that, and it just worked. That part was easy. The more complicated part was getting Doc.C to look like a proper website. Because documentation is not exactly the same as like a website where you want to discover stuff. And the old website of the WWDC Notes project also had like a great overview of all the contributors, which I really liked, where you could see like all the people that are behind this community project. And this was really something very important to me, because it really shows like that this is a community project. And this is the most important thing for me about the WWDC Notes, is that everyone comes together and provides this cool thing. And I had to recreate this, and I had to play around, and there are like some directives in Swift Doc.C that are not really openly documented. Like if you really search for it, you can find them. Like you can, for example, have multiple images in tabs. You can have columns and rows and stuff like that. But the most complex thing for me was if you have like a documentation page, for example, I wanted to have for each contributor, I wanted to have their own page where you can see which sessions they contributed. And then when you link to that, I also wanted a preview with an image of that person, which was there is a way to do that in it's called like you can have like a metadata directive. There inside you can have a page image and stuff like that. But there's an icon one and a cover one. I had to play around a lot with these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's stuff amazing. Like if people haven't had a chance to take a look, definitely take some time to look and maybe even contribute. How much do you have left for WW24 to contribute?
We have still. You can click on the missing sessions. It's on the left sidebar.
Okay.
You'll see also the exact amount of sessions missing for each year, and currently the amounts missing for this year are just above some above 80. I think 86 or something.
Okay.
Whereas 37 were already provided, so we are already quite there for just 2 weeks. But we still need a lot of sessions.
That's awesome. Definitely people should take a look. It's amazing. And yeah, I mean, the sessions are a lot better than they used to be, where they're like 45 minutes, like period, right? Like you can't make it shorter or longer, whereas now they're a little bit more flexible. But like, this is a great way to just quickly take a look before jumping right in and, just get the meat of the talk. So this is really great. Thank you for putting this together. This is awesome.
Oh, for sure, yeah. That like I didn't start a project. The thanks go really to Federico who started this, but I'm trying to keep it alive. But
Yeah,
what
yeah.
the cool thing is what you don't get with the videos is links. Like if there are things mentioned, we can link to documentation, we can link to stuff, which saves a lot of time. And you can also copy and paste the code and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yep. Um, cool. Was there anything else you want to mention with WWDC Notes?
There's a lot of things there, but I think it's too detailed. Like, yeah, I think I'm gonna basically suggest a few improvements for Docs C to the Apple team
Oh
working on
yeah.
it because there are a few quirks that I found out. But yeah, I think it's too detailed to dive in deeper right now.
Um, so let's talk about Swift 6 migration. You had that really great blog post about getting people into it and getting people started. How has it been for you? Have you tried moving anything over in the last couple of weeks?
So the article that you're mentioning was like a year ago or something.
Hmm.
I'm also the author of the Swift Evolution monthly newsletter, where I
Okay.
basically summarize the Swift Evolution proposals that were accepted. And as part of that, basically when I read about there is the new Swift language modes and the new opt-in features there were these feature flags you could opt in into things that are going to be coming in Swift 6 already. That was basically for me because I was so into this Swift Evolution thing. I felt like I should just summarize as someone, who has the knowledge to do that, how to already prepare for Swift 6 so there is no big issues with like a migration right now. And that was what the article was about. And back then I actually tried it out and it didn't take much time, but we didn't have as many data race safety features back then. So I actually watched a session. That's the last session I summarized just today. It's called Migrate Your App to Swift 6. It's the longest session this year. It's 42 minutes long.
Yeah.
Most of them are like 10 to 20 minutes. So you're right about the various length. But 42 minutes long, and it has a lot of details about like Swift 6 and tips how you can migrate. And I think it's really a good session also for like larger companies even to have like some strategy and some structure to the migration. And they also basically say there's really no stress to do it. And I actually just tried it out in one of my app just to answer the question because I was assuming that you're going to ask it.
Hmm.
And I had like no warnings basically regarding concurrency and stuff. And then I turned on Swift 6 language mode or the full checked mode to
Yeah.
start with
Complete.
that. Exact, exactly the complete mode where you get warnings for the stuff that would fail in Swift 6. And I got around 20 warnings in my largest app in the crossword puzzle game, which I
What
think is fine.
what were the most of the warnings having to do with?
Well, they're all about like some of them are about that. I have basically changed some properties that are in my views in tasks that are detached. So they were like in a different thread. They were not on the main actor, not on main
Okay,
thread.
got it.
So what I need to do to fix that is just say main actor.run. I think that's the easiest solution for those. And then in some other places, I just got those. I could actually open the project, but I got the warnings that also were mentioned in the session, which are basically that if you have like global variables and you change them in some other context, you need to either mark them as main actor or do a task thing or yeah, those kinds of things.
For me, like what was surprising is I did a lot of this beforehand, and I ended up. I think because I had some extra experimental flags enabled, I ended up
Mm.
with the issue with this is a new thing, and I think it's still experimental or upcoming, but you have to specify when you import a namespace or a module, you have to specify the access level. So rather than
Oh,
just
right.
saying import foundation, you'd say internal import foundation or public import foundation or whatever. So I had like a ton of those warnings when I
Is
migrated.
that, do you have like a modularized app or is it just one target?
It's modularized. It's all Swift
Yeah.
packages.
I
So
think it's there's also a difference between modularized apps because you get more extra features and things to handle, like
right,
this specific import thing,
yeah,
which is also not related to concurrency though. It's more
it's
related
not.
to making sure, yeah.
Yeah,
I
not
think
at
it's
all.
about making sure that you're not basically making the dependency that you have internally also a dependency of the end product, right? So
Yeah, and I'm wondering too if it has to do with the explicitly built module stuff that they added this year. Like
maybe.
somehow if it makes it easier to optimize. So I don't know because I would assume because if you don't if you're not going to use it publicly, then you don't need that module exported. I
Right.
guess I don't know. That's my theory, but I could totally be wrong on that.
Yeah, actually, like going back to my wish list, last year I had a wish list as well, and part of that was that I want to have something built into Xcode to modularize to apps, because the Swift package thing is more built for public repositories and public packages, which is not
Hmm.
exactly what you need in apps, where you maybe want to do some things differently. But I think they're not going to bring anything different than Swift packages.
Right. Right. Cool. So let's talk about one of the sessions. And I don't know if you even had a chance to watch it, but we have some advancements in multilingual apps that they brought this year. A lot of it, I think, related to the machine learning stuff, kind of more expansions and things like that. Did you get to watch the video by any chance?
And not the built multilingual ready, but I watched, I think it's called something like Meet Translation APIs or something like that, which is
Okay, okay.
also localization
Yeah.
related.
So, what's your impression of like the localization advancements this year?
Well, firstly, like not the new API that the video I watched the video for with the translation APIs. It was also, I think, kind of released in 17.4 already. I saw
Okay.
something posted on Mastodon or something. But basically, what it does is you can basically say, I have this text in my app, and I know it's not in the language the user speaks, and I want to translate it. And the thing that already works in 17.4 is basically a modal showing up, which is like a Apple built UI. You don't have any influence with what's in there, but
Okay.
it shows a translation basically. And what they have now in iOS 18 as a new one is also a direct API that you can use with your own UI inside your app, which is awesome. But they're going to support, I think, 15 languages or something like that, the same ones
Okay.
that they support in the Translate app, which is great. A good improvement there.
What do you so like you have we'll talk about your fantastic app TranslateKit. Um first of all, I'll let you go ahead and explain it before I do.
Well, TranslateKit is actually my third translation helper app. But how that works is you basically just drag and drop your string catalog into my app and it localizes it for you. That's the basic idea.
Okay. And it uses basically you would set up different accounts with different translation services. Most of them are AI based, ML based stuff, right?
Yeah,
Um, and then
yeah,
you would basically be calling those APIs to automatically translate your
exactly.
string
Yeah, that's
catalog,
how it
right?
works.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's how it works.
Um, what
And
what do
all
you
of
think?
all of those services are also, they have all a free tier, and the free tier is so large, any size app you can translate for free because they were built for document translation with large text. And for
Okay.
apps, this is not a big thing. So you
Yeah.
can translate it, use them for free.
Do you think there's any gotchas with using these services as opposed to like a more like hand driven translation service?
Well, obviously, the one problem you can run into is that you're missing context. Specifically in apps, you have short text. You have like a button just with one word
Yeah.
or two words, and it happens to me all the time when I translate "save," like the word "save," which you have in most of the apps, to German. It translates as "sparen," which basically means save money, which is a different
Okay.
word in German than speichern or sichern, which is basically saving data.
Okay.
It's a completely
Okay.
different word, and then it can miss the context, and it happens all the time, which is something would could be fixed with an AI tool where you give you some context. You say like, this is an app, this is about this topic, and then you can additionally add some glossary with some words that you have come up with, because you might have like tabs with different feature names, and then when you refer to those tabs in some explanation text, you want to make sure to use the same words and stuff like that.
Okay.
Those things can get missed in automatic translation if you don't like try to provide them. One thing I'm doing in my app is I have Do you know the Apple Glossaries website? There is like this
Yes,
website
absolutely.
with apples.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, Apple has provided in the past. I think they are not updating that anymore. The localizations that they have inside iOS and macOS themselves.
Right.
And what I did for the TranslateKit app is I basically read them all that they have in there. I counted them, looked like, okay, which ones appear multiple times and which ones appear in multiple frameworks. So they're not
Yeah.
only related to HealthKit, but they're more generally useful. And I found 1,600 of those that I built into TranslateKit, which if you get a match for those words, for example, privacy or save
Okay.
or done, I basically use Apple's translations.
That makes total sense. That's awesome. Um, so is there anything out of this here that you're like, I want to use that in TranslateKit, or maybe developers should think about using in their app?
Yeah, the new translation API is going to be my way to that you don't have to set up any of these third-party
Okay.
frameworks to get started with TranslateKit. You will just be able to use, with one click. I'm hoping, I haven't implemented yet, but I think it's going to work.
How
That you just,
do you
yeah,
judge like whether certain APIs should be used over others?
kinda. Yeah, I have like 4 different services implemented. What I've done is I check like which ones have the best quality for which language, because in some languages, also parameters and stuff like that can get broken. That's also one of the things that I fix in my app. Like if you have like %at, the LLD and stuff like that,
Right.
I make sure I match them across languages and check if they are available in all languages, if they were available in the automatic translation. I auto fix
Okay.
them or I show you warnings. Stuff like that is built in there, and that's actually one of the things that Apple has improved this year. Is in string catalogs, you now get also this warning if you have like a %at in one language, and you have the %d in another language translation. They say, hey, this is not matching up, which
Yeah.
is a feature that they don't do all the checks that I do, so I do more checks. And the string catalog editor I have in TranslateKit that I had already mentioned before. This is a completely free feature, so this is everyone can use that. There is no like my app is in general freemium, so anyone can get started for free. But this is completely free, and it's especially if you're using string catalogs together with translators who own Macs. The cool thing is they can download my app and just TranslateKit and just use the string catalog editor there, and they don't have to install Xcode, this 3 GB thing. So for translators, it's also a great thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
I don't know. I mean, I like to talk about a lot of things that also you're doing, but I think your podcasts are always like interviewing other people. And what have you been up to? Like, I would like to know that.
Sure. Well, you may as well know and let my audience know. So, yeah, I'm working on trying to get some new features into Bushel. And I just recently ran TranslateKit on it. So hopefully
Oh,
my French, German, Spanish, Japanese, Chinese, Arabic audience isn't confused by the interface to Bushel when the latest beta comes out. So yeah, there's a few interesting new features with the virtualization stuff. Supposedly, you can sign in on Apple ID. I still haven't been able to do that with Bushel, so or with the
okay,
virtualization framework overall. So I don't know where that is. And
okay.
then yeah, I'm working on a refactor rewrite of my app Heart Twitch using the latest technologies. So that's been
What's
a
it
fun
written in?
pursuit. What's that?
What's it written in right now? Like, is it in Objective C?
No. It's in Swift,
It's
but it's
okay.
it's like older version of Vapor, older version of
Oh,
Combine.
right.
There's
Okay.
just stuff that it's like at this point, it's like I need to rewrite it. So yeah, that's kind of what's been keeping me busy. I have a few other app ideas in the back of my head that I want to work on, and I think I mentioned before, but I stream every Tuesday morning. So if people want to catch that, I'll
Right.
always be working on something interesting in Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. So what's that for you?
Okay.
Like,
Sorry, I lost you for a sec. Can you repeat, please?
what's 9 a.m. in your time zone?
Oh, it's
No.
currently like 4 p.m. right now, so
So
should
3
be
p.m. then. Yeah.
right.
You can catch me at 3 p.m. Eastern time. and watch me work on something interesting or weird. So every Tuesday morning, and maybe even Thursday mornings, you can catch me. So
Sounds
yeah.
great.
Um,
Now that this is the first, you said this is the first episode after WWDC for you as well.
yes, this is, yeah.
So what was your favorite thing about the whole week?
Well, you can check out my newsletter. I posted it all
Oh,
in there. So
good spot there.
spoiler alert. Yeah, you can definitely check that out in the newsletter. I'll post a link to it. But basically, one more thing was great. The watch party was great. The WWDC community event was fantastic. I mean, the whole thing was just, yeah, I want to do it again.
For sure.
I've been to a few conferences and stuff, and those are all awesome, but this was amazing. Just being like, I mean, there is one more thing, but there's so much going on. It's like hard. Like I said, it's hard to just have quiet time to work on code and like watch a video because there's so many things going on at the same time. So yeah. How did your expert session on translating go? Or on localization go?
On the One More Thing conference, yeah, we had like tents outside and there
Hmm.
where there were like floating experts basically sitting around and waiting for people to ask questions. And the local, like I had three of those. One was about localization, another was about marketing and paywalls, and the
Okay.
third was about WWDC Notes.
Okay.
On the WWDC Notes day, I was sick actually because I was meeting so many people, the time difference and all of that. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got
yeah.
sick on Thursday. But the localization one was basically three people were there who I could help, I think, a bit. Like I explained quite a few things. They were like really happy about the things I could tell them. Like they
That's
basically
awesome.
have a larger app and they wanted to migrate to like a newer system, modern system. And I basically showed them why string catalogs don't have any disadvantages actually. And I think they were also going to stop using third-party service they were using because now they can just directly send string catalogs to their translators and they can just translate it for them
Yeah.
in like a nice UI, which is yeah, it's a great improvement by Apple.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the Swift on server and there's a lot of people interested. So that's amazing. I'm actually going to start dabbling into Hummingbird and see how that works. So stay tuned for
Oh,
that.
so Hummingbird is also still actively worked on?
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Okay. I didn't know.
So
I wasn't sure which ones are still active because there were more like Perfectly Swift was also a very uh, popular one, which I think is no longer being worked on.
yeah, so there's a meeting Wednesday. I think I'm not going to be able to share this podcast in time for that, but they have a server-side Swift meetup that meets online on YouTube, so you can always check that out. Hopefully, I'll put a link to that. But they'll be talking about Hummingbird this week, and I don't know what they'll be talking about in July, but yeah, Hummingbird's very active. So yeah,
Very cool. Yeah, I've been using Vapor as a default, but I have to check out Hummingbird as well.
yep, yeah, yeah. Were there any other apps that you want to plug while you're here?
Yeah, there's actually one that I'm working on right now, which is in beta, but I'm planning to release it within the next few weeks. It's called Freemium Kit, and it's basically a revenue cap alternative with native experience, let's put it that way, with like push notifications and supports all Apple platforms, stuff like that.
Awesome.
You
Well,
can visit freemiumkit.app if you want to learn more.
cool. We'll put a link in the show notes. Cihat, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to meet you in person and finally have you on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter and Mastodon and also on Threads. I will always named Cihat, which is J-E-E, and then Hut like Pizza Hut.
Thank you again. People can find me online at Leo G. Dion. My company is Bright Digit. I'm on Mastodon, X, whatever you want to call it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening to this on a podcast player, I'd love your review. If you want to come on, if you have a talk coming up that you want to preview or practice, I'm the perfect place for you. If there's something you want to hear about, let me know. Thank you.